Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about just that. Ben Barrack continues his discussion with me here on the program, talking a little, more about the Bengazi incident, and there might actually be a connection with Egypt. Morsi, of course, was just horrible. He was horrific. The direct result of Arab Spring, a U.S. incompetence when it came to Arab Spring. I so much prefer my, my bribed dictators that are forced through money to be at least civil to the West and to Israel than bribe dictators who essentially urinate on us, which is what Morsi did. If you're going to bribe dictators, you should at least get something for it. Even without the Bengazi incident, Morsi was horrible to the West, to Israel, and to minorities, not just Christian minorities, because let's face it, Ben, who cares about them, but to minorities of all sects, including even some Islamic sects that were not in the same sphere as the Islamic Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you have a pretty much a hodgepodge of different individuals and groups that were negatively affected and disenchanted, disenfranchised, persecuted, anything else you can think of by Morsi. You had the secularists, you had the Muslims who maybe aren't as devout, shall we say, and don't subscribe to the strictest forms of Sharia law, and you had the Christians who were grossly persecuted by the Morsi regime. And this is a regime that this administration backed from the get-go, and they're wanting to have you believe that they don't take sides. But the Egyptian people are doing the jobs Americans won't do right now in their protests. They're holding up signs saying, CNN, shame on you. They're saying, Obama, stop supporting terrorists. They've got these guys figured out. And shame on us, because we don't as a country. I mean, you and I do, and the people who know what's going on do. But as America, as a country, the people in general know more about the Kardashians than they do about this stuff.
Oh, that's for sure. And, and you look at Russia. Russia is like, we're not doing nothing in Syria. We're not doing nothing in any of these countries because they're only going to get worse. We don't see any return on our investment. That's
right, and that's just another indicator that this administration is in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood. And I'll give you anecdotal evidence at best. I mean, you're familiar with Huma Abedin, the former deputy chief of staff to Hillary Clinton, whose familial ties to the Muslim Brotherhood are off the hook. I mean, that's not conspiracy theory, that's conspiracy reality. And her mother, Saleha Abedin, one of 63 leaders in the Muslim Sisterhood, and Mohammed Morsi's wife are both two of those 63 leaders. So I ask you, what kind of influence did Huma Abedin have on the administration's policy relative to putting the Muslim Brotherhood in power? Because it seems like she would have quite a bit of sway, and she's not the only one in that administration, well, back then at the time, who has sympathies for the Brotherhood.
Yeah, no question about it. There's no question about it. They're always, you remember the Boston, massacre, I guess we could call it now, what happened there, that terrible thing that happened, Boston Marathon. The administration says, we don't want to jump into conclusions and call it terror. That just shows terrorism. That just shows they equate Islamism or extreme Islamism with terrorism. They equate it, not us. We all know it was an act of terror. The question is who committed the act of terror?
Right.
I mean, It's mind-boggling when you think about how hypersensitive they are.
Absolutely, and that's a red flag. That is a big, bold red flag. And, you might remember a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was about a month ago at this point, Louis Gohmert, another congressman from Texas
District 1.
Yeah, that's right. He was on a hearing I think it was a House Judiciary hearing, talking to FBI Director Robert Mueller, about the Boston Marathon bombing, and he actually asked Mueller if he knew, and this is the FBI Director. Gohmert asked Mueller if he knew that the guy who founded the mosque that the Tsarnaev brothers attended was founded by a guy that Mueller put in prison for terror funding. That would be Abdul Rahman al-Amoudi. Al-Amouti's been in jail for quite a while, and Mueller presided over the FBI that put him away. Mueller's answer was he did not know that. That is absurd. It is obscene. There's something very, very wrong, and we need to figure out what it is. And our leaders, from almost top to bottom, are beyond derelict at this point.
So what is your hope going forward?
Well, my hope is that the excrement that is underneath a layer of snow continues to get revealed by the snow melting. The information that is out there and available needs to somehow find its way into the American people, who then must somehow hold the government officials accountable. We need to see, Kevin, in my view, we need to see something similar to what happened in Egypt, in that people need to take to the streets. People need to protest this government, and so that they're heard, because you and I know that we've been screaming in the wilderness for quite a while now, and it's not being listened to. So the only thing you can do at that point is turn up the volume.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to squeeze that in with the reality television and
right.
all the other priorities that they have. Clearly, I mean, the masses are really donkeys. They don't care. They're sheeple. The vast majority of Americans, the vast majority of Americans, and the low prepared, the low educated voter, he pretty much dominates the electoral process today.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's unfortunately, that's the reality that we have here. But when you see what happened in Egypt, you see what happens when masses unite to affect change, and that's what happened. It wasn't the military finished it, but it was the people who said we will not be ignored, and they took to the streets in massively record numbers, in world history record numbers, to protest injustice and persecution and tyranny.
What do you suggest people do going forward? I mean, you talked about rioting in the streets. Demonstrating, not rioting. Demonstrating. What else should they be doing? Obviously, contacting their congressman or senator.
Right. Well, I think there needs to be some level of peer accountability. When people who are informed run into people who are ill-informed and don't know this stuff, I think there should be some peer accountability. I think they should be made to feel somewhat shamed that they don't know what's going on, and those are things that we as informed voters can do. When we run into folks like this, and I'm not talking about the ideologues, because you're not going to change those, the liberals and whatnot. You're not going to change their view. I'm talking about the people that just don't seem to care. You almost have to take them by the shoulders and shake them and say, figuratively speaking, just say, wake up. And, this is the problem. What's wrong with you? Kind of thing. I think that's what we need more of.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I think you're right on the accountability part. Well, you have nothing to lose, and we certainly have so much to lose if we don't try that. And I like to encourage people to ask other people questions. Ask a lot of questions. Right. How is it that someone can do something like Susan Rice and knowingly lie over and over again directly against what was told by her, by the Bengazi staff that was there, who lived through it, who experienced through it, that were watching it closely. Ask those tough questions and see what kind of response that you get, because I think people would be surprised if they came to realize this.
Absolutely, and it doesn't matter who you are. When you realize that you have been lied to and you have been deceived and you have been manipulated, nobody likes that. So when people see what Susan Rice did and what this administration's been doing for more than 4 years, when they see this and they don't see that tells me that they're simply ignorant. But once they realize that they have been lied to and they're no longer partisan or indifferent, that's when I think, and that's what I believe is going to cause that if it does happen is events. when there's something that you just simply can't ignore and it's in your face, and people have a collective realization that evil has been and wickedness is leading this country, I think that's when people collectively are going to speak out and stand up against this.
Thanks so much for being with us. Again, Ben Barrack, you can learn more about him at benbarrack.com. How do you spell that Barrack part?
It's with one extra R from Barrack, BARRACK.com.
Don't say Barack on my show. All right, when we come back, we're going to have much more for you. Thanks for being with us, Ben.
All right, Kevin, take care.
Do you want to remind you best content here? It shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter.